So let's please welcome our next speaker, Stoddard Worman. Give him a warm round of applause, please.
Well, good evening, Indianapolis. How's everyone doing? Yeah! Thank you, guys. I got to tell you, what a neat event. You know, what do we have? 300-400 people in here that came out just to better themselves and, find a nicer part of our community. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's really darn neat. So I started thinking about love in action, and two questions really came to my mind. I'm a technical guy. I like instruction manuals. And those two questions that came to mind were, why does love in action work? And how can we leave here and do something with it? Well, as I was brainstorming those two questions, I hit a brick wall. Hit this massive brick wall, and I was just stumped. Why does love in action work? How can we leave here and do something with it? So I thought to myself, what resource has been there for me in my adulthood that I could just call up, whether it was 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 2 a.m. in the morning, what resource has been there for me that I can turn to? Then it hit me, got to call my friend Bud. So Bud helped me get some notes down on paper. So the first question, why does love in action work? Well, love in action works due to a social psychology concept called reciprocity. And we've all experienced both types of reciprocity. The negative reciprocity is the eye for an eye rule. You burn me, I'm going to try to burn you. But there's also positive reciprocity. And positive reciprocity states that if you do something nice to me or for me, I'm going to feel a debt of obligation to you. That's so important, it bears repeating. If you do something nice to me or for me, I'm going to feel a debt of obligation for you. And if we know that, we can use it to create more love in action in our lives. So the second question, how do we leave here and create more love in action? Well, before we do that, we got to do a little bit of a self-analysis. So let me ask you this. You ever had any thoughts like this? My wife, she just doesn't kiss me like she used to. Or my teenager, I really wish that he would just talk to me. How about a boss? She has her favorites. I'm not one of them. Or a coworker. I really want Steve to be part of my team, but Steve just doesn't care. You ever had thoughts like that? I have thoughts like that all the time, but I guarantee you this. It's thoughts like that have stopped love in action from happening in my life, and I'll explain to you why. See, the current behavior model, as it's understood, says that behaviors drive results, and I completely agree with that. But there's a company by the name of the Arbinger Institute who says that there's an additional level to that it's built on. And that level is our mindsets, that our mindsets drive our behaviors, which drive our results. So let's go back to those thoughts that I first mentioned with a husband and wife. The wife, my wife, just doesn't kiss me like she used to. Or the child. I sure wish that my teenager would just talk to me. My boss. My boss has her favorites and I'm not one of them. Or the coworker. I really want Steve to be part of my team, but Steve just doesn't care. Whose needs are in focus in those thoughts? Mine, right? My needs. Eyes and me's. Eyes and me's. Eyes and me's do not help create more love in action. When our needs are greater than everybody else's needs, people can sense that. They can feel it. So what we're thinking affects our relationships with people. And I'm going to show you how I've changed myself to think just a little bit different and just make a couple minor mindset changes that have helped me create phenomenal relationships in my life. If I come at somebody that, maybe it's a new relationship, an older relationship, but if I come at somebody saying that I care about myself, eyes and me's, they're going to come right back at me with an eyes and me's. And we're not going to have love in action. But if we initiate the conversation with caring about somebody else, then they're going to do the same thing back to us. That's that social reciprocity that I talked about. Positive reciprocity states that if I go out of my way to do something positive to you or for you, you're going to feel a debt of obligation to me to repay that in kind. So you can create love in action in your lives. And to do that, we got to make their needs equal to ours. So what does that look like? making their needs equal to ours. Let's go back to those thoughts. How can I create more happiness for my spouse? Maybe something's changed in my teenager's social life. I should go ask him. Or my boss, maybe she's swamped. Maybe I can take something off her plate. Or the coworker, Steve's really been stressed out lately. I'm going to knock out his part of the project for him. Minor mindset changes can lead to great relationship results. So now, I've figured out the how, I've figured out the why, I'm in the planning process. I'm trying to put all of this together into a 10-minute presentation. I need more resources. Need more resources. So the resources help me put it all together. So you guys are probably sitting out there right now thinking to yourselves, what's going to happen if I make this mindset change? What does that look like? Let's say you're a husband and wife sitting in the crowd right now, and you're the husband, right? And you know without a shadow of a doubt that your wife hates taking out the trash. Like that's her big thing. She doesn't like taking out the trash. So you're driving home, and you think to yourself, that Stoddard guy, he had a point. So when I go home, I'm going to create more love and action in my lives. I'm going to make her needs equal to mine, and I'm going to take out that trash. So I'm going to take my little happy butt. I'm going to go into the kitchen. I'm going to pull that trash bag out. I'm going to tie it off, and I'm going to look at her, and she's going to be looking at me, and that eyebrow's going to go up from her. You know what I'm talking about? You can hear it from a mile away. People are naturally skeptical. So what's going to happen if you make this change? You're going to probably hear some sort of sound that sounds like this. Ding, 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 ding. And that sound is their bullshit meter going off. It happened to me. It happened to me. But as you stick with it and you continue to make other people's needs equal to yours, not greater. If you make people's needs greater than yours, you make yourself liable to be taken advantage of. So that's not what I'm saying here, but just raising their needs equal to ours can create a lot of love and action in our lives. But you need patience. It's not an easy process. It's not an overnight process. But as you continue to do it, I can tell you from firsthand experience, something magical truly happens in those relationships. So one of the things I wanted to do was that I didn't want to get up here and just speak. I wanted to give you something tangible that you can do when you leave here to create more love and action in your life. And one of the things that changed my life was a book that I read. So if you want to do something when you leave here, if you want to pull out your phones right now, feel free. I got a book. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. It's kind of based on business stuff and leadership, but as I've applied it to my personal life, it's really helped me change. Now I see the phones start coming out. Leadership and Self-Deception. It's a great book. It's by the Arbinger Institute. The company's been around 30 years, and what they do is they help business people see eye to eye and really get better business results. But I've applied the message in that book, and it's really cool because it's written in first person, so it's not like here's this leadership concept and then you got to figure out how to go about it. It's written from the mindset of someone that's going through the process of changing, so you can see how their emotions are affected when they're making those personal changes. Pretty darn neat. So, I'm very fortunate that I have this amazing woman in my life. She's actually in the crowd right there. Woo! Yeah, give her a round of applause. She's something special. I must have been a saint in a previous life because I sure don't deserve her in this one. But she's something special. And last fall, her family had scheduled some professional family photos out at the photographer's farm. And I knew I wanted to propose, but I didn't know how I wanted to go about it. Well, when that photography session came up, I was like, wow. Perfect. Absolutely. Win, win, win. I get to propose to the woman of my dreams. She gets to say yes to the man of her dreams, and we don't have to pay. Okay. Maybe. And we don't have to pay for engagement photos. Win, win, win. It was a perfect situation. So I got a hold of the photographer, and I said, where's a good spot? She said, down by this lake. It's going to be great. I got this perfect spot for you. You just give me a look, and I'll know what the look is, and I'll start taking the pictures. So I got down on one knee, and I looked at the love of my life in her eyes. I told her how much I loved her, and I asked her if she'd be my wife. And fortunately for me, she said yes. So we're scheduled to be married next June 17th, which is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm very excited for it. She said yes. But see, that's not all of it. There's a third party to this transaction. And this third party is about yay tall. And his name's Jake. I don't have any kids of my own. And I've never known the love of a child before, but the love of a child, the love that I have for him, the love that he has for me, is something special. This little boy has just changed who I am and has been part of this personal progression and personal growth that I've had over the past few years. So as I'm, thinking about this concept of proposing to Kelly, I don't want to think that my future stepson is going to feel any different about the relationship that I have with him, that he has with his mom, or that the three of us are family unit. I don't want him to think anything's going to change. So using what I just explained and changing just minor mindset changes, I made his needs equal to mine. And I thought to myself, if I'm a little dude and I got this random guy trying to take my mom, what would I want in that situation to feel involved? What would I want out of the proposal to make sure that I'm included? So the thought process became, for me, how do I make sure this little dude feels included when I propose to his mom? Well, I promise you this, folks. I didn't need any resources for this decision. It came naturally. It was nice and easy. So what I did was, I accepted Kelly's yes, and that made me really, really happy. But then, I got back down on that knee again. And I said, "Come here, Jakers." He came over. I held his hands. And I looked at him. And I said some words that, unless he ever wants to repeat them, shall stay between me and him. But at the end of it, I looked him dead in his eyes. And I said, "Jake, can I be your stepdad?" And I was kind of nervous because I didn't know what he was going to say. But then I got my answer real quick, and I had to back up because this little dude came running at me with this big old hug. And that, folks, right there, by making just a minor mindset change, was how I was able to create love in action, and you can too. My name's Stoddard Worman. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being an amazing part of my life. Thank you all for being here tonight. Such an amazing event. Thank you.
Stoddard, man. Thank you for sharing that personal, beautiful story.
My pleasure.
And I want a bullshit meter too, okay?
Absolutely. I'll put it on back order for you.
Thanks a lot. Okay.